Welcome. My name is Ashley Withers, and I am one of the college counselors here at SI. I am co-hosting with my amazing colleague, but also wonderful friend, Miss Stephanie Wong. We also have here some amazing representatives from amazing institutions. We have Miss Uka Ocasta from UCSB, who is the Associate Director of Admissions. And we have Mr. Phil Moreno from Dickinson College in Pennsylvania, who is the Director of West Coast Recruitment and co-coordinator of transfer admissions. Again, welcome everyone here at SI to our sophomore parent night. And I am going to start by sharing my screen and kind of share with you a little bit of our agenda and what tonight really is all about. The agenda is, I'm going to share with you a little bit of the timeline from sophomore to senior year for your students. So you can be aware about what are the college counselors at SI doing and how are they going to be communicating with our students from now up until the end of senior year, their spring semester. Okay, what is the role of the college counselor? Well, the first thing we do is we really work as an amazing team, as in a department. So not only am I working every single day with college counselors from Miss Campoverde to Miss Wong, Miss AMV to Mr. Lorenzo, we call him Pilo, but we are also collaborating all the time with their personal and academic counselor when it's regarding anything from course selection to just making sure that we're connecting and we're communicating about who our students are. In addition, we also help with planning for life after SI. And I know a few of you may say like, okay, well, what does that mean? Not every student's trajectory is going to go straight into a 4-year college, right? Some of our students may take a gap year. I've had maybe 1 or 2 students take a gap year. On my case, every single year, they plan on doing that. Some want to go on a route of going through a community college route. So we help them in asking a lot of different questions on what are you interested in? What are some of your passions or interests? I know some of us don't want to say like, well, how does a 16-year-old have a passion? Not every 16-year-old is going to have a passion, but maybe help them spark an interest. And then from there, identify opportunities, right? Even throughout school, identify opportunities for internships or for opportunities once they graduate. And then serve as a resource for any research that serve as a resource for any type of research that needs to be done. Right now, when I'm working with my juniors, I'm completely focusing if they're interested in STEM or if they're interested in law or if they're interested in migration laws. I want to find internships and I literally send them like, please apply here, apply here. So I definitely, all of us want to assist in any way possible to help through the process and answer questions for our students. All right, so summer after sophomore year, and I know you all may have some questions thinking of right now, okay, what should my child be doing this summer? Should they be taking a community college course or should they take a course at SI and have a little bit more free time in their period or in their schedule for next year? What should they be doing? Should they work? Honestly, it really depends on what your child is interested in, right? What the student fully is interested in. We encourage the most important thing that it's a meaningful summer, right? So yes, 100%. If there's a course that they're really interested in, they want to take at a City College of San Francisco or Skyline or Marin, 100%, absolutely, go for it. That course will actually be even transferred onto the official, our official SI's transcript. But if they also have an opportunity for an internship, or if they also they need to work, right? That's a responsibility. If they have to work at Walgreens or In-N-Out or whatever the case is, that's okay too. But I think the most important thing to think about is doing something meaningful and not just doing nothing. Hobbies as well. Whether you're even taking care of your brother or sister, that's something that you can include on activities and achievements. That's a big deal, having to be responsible for your younger brother or sister for the whole entire summer because your parents have to work. So universities and colleges, and they're going to understand that. So junior year, and then going back just real quick, we did meet with your sophomores a few weeks back. So please feel free to ask, hey, what did you learn in your X period with your college counselor? It was via Zoom, and we will be meeting again in March. But we really get into the nitty gritty with our students junior year. We start off with an X period in the fall semester, and then it's just again an overview of the junior year timeline on what are the things that how are we going to be working and collaborating with the student. And then we have college planning workshops. So these are smaller groups. Instead of having the X period where it's the entire junior class, or an X period where it's the entire sophomore class, we have CPWs, we call them. And they're small groups that are based off of their resource period. So whoever's in first period with Miss Withers will be meeting with Miss Withers. Whoever's in second period with Miss Wong will be meeting with Miss Wong. And they're smaller groups. So it could range from maybe like 7 students to maybe like 18 students. So it really allows us as college counselors to get to know our students, to get to know our caseload when they're asking questions or when we're calling on them and saying, so what type of school do you see yourself at? Do you want to explore all the 4 seasons, or do you want to be located right by the water and want to be in sunny Southern California? Location does matter. Weather does matter for kids as well. So asking those type of questions allows us to have a little bit more of an intimate setting than a huge X period. And we discuss various things. Yes, location, but I think we go back to finding the right fit, right? What is the best fit for our students? And then college research. We also talk a lot about research and how to research. We talk all the time. I always tell my students, listen, you're the generation that can find out information really, really fast, okay? All you have to do is literally Google. If you're looking for an internship, let me show you what I do. High school internships in San Francisco, STEM, law, for juniors. It's simple, you know? So we show them exactly how to find the information. College research, even every university has an online presence right now. Every university has an Instagram. Most juniors right now and sophomores do have an Instagram, and they are utilizing it. So a lot of them have an online presence, whether it's Instagram or YouTube, the actual university's website, panels, virtual panels, if you cannot get to their campus right now. I know a lot of schools are opening back up, but yes, there's maybe hesitation in visiting some schools. Many schools are still doing virtual events. So taking that opportunity to learn about from a student's perspective online right now. And then we talk a lot about financial aid. What does that look like? Using FAFSA, merit-based scholarships, grants, making sure that students are applying before that deadline and not waiting until the deadline, but applying way before. So we're talking about pretty much holistically everything about the college application process. And we're starting that through our CPWs, our small groups. And yes, we have had some of them through Zoom, and we have had some of them in person. Hopefully next year, they'll officially all be back on in person. And then spring semester. So right now, who we're focusing really on are our juniors. And we have that one-on-one meeting with our juniors, and it could last from like 45 minutes to an hour, where we are asking lots of questions from their transcript to their course selection. I look at their transcript with each of my students, and we look over everything, and I see things like your transcript is a story, right? So if you're taking a lot of like English honors and social sciences, I'm saying like, okay, it seems like this is something that you're really interested in. What are we going to take your senior year? So those individual meetings, again, help us to learn a lot more about our juniors. And again, as college counselors, we're writing a letter of recommendation on their behalf as well. So it allows us to get more insight on who they are. Again, our junior year during the spring, we're meeting individually throughout the semester. We're also creating a college list with them. And we're talking about target schools. We're talking about reach schools. We're talking about likely schools. And the most important thing we try to emphasize is creating a balanced list. I don't mind if you're applying to the top 5% in the country. I encourage my students, but I also want you to make sure that you're going to apply to those schools that fit your GPA and that are likely in target schools that you genuinely want to go to as well. I think that's the most important thing. It's not just, oh, I want to go here because of this name. And that's awesome if you do. We don't necessarily encourage that, but we're telling you, like, finding the right fit. Does it have your major? Does it have a program that you're interested in, or a study abroad program that you might be interested in? Do you need a smaller, more intimate setting where you want your teachers to have more accountability with you? Or are you okay at a huge institution where nobody knows your name and you're comfortable with that? So we really try to find on creating like a college list, planning college visits as well. Again, we continue talking about financial aid. We have scholarship workshops throughout the year, where we are talking about different scholarships. We're also sharing through emails and through newsletters about scholarship opportunities for our students. And then some X period topics, setting the foundation, personal statements, UC personal insight questions, and a senior panel of Q&A. We just recently had our personal statement X period with our juniors on Tuesday. And we had a few representatives from different schools talk about what they're really looking for when it comes to writing the Common App essay. What does it look like with the writing supplements as well? Those writing supplements are very specific. And then UC personal insight questions. We are going to have an X period in a few weeks where we're going to have representatives come from the UC, from some of the UCs, and talk about what the PIQs are. There's 8 questions. 4 out of those 8 questions they are required to submit. And it's like, that's what's really going to separate them from their GPA. Like, who else is this person? Tell me more in 350 words or less. All right, summer after junior year, again, encourage and emphasize having a meaningful, authentic opportunities and activities that you can have, right? That's very important. Whether it's working, again, which is fine, whether it's watching your siblings, internships, academics, or we are constantly encouraging students. Actually, I encourage all my students to create 2 Google Docs now, one with the UC insight questions and another with the Common App personal statements and writing supplements. And I say, you don't have to start today, but just start to think about these questions. Which of these questions resonate with you, where you feel like, wow, I feel really connected, where I know that I can share a lot of information. So starting that personal statement and writing supplement and UC insight questions in the summer, awesome. And then last slide before I hand it over to Ms. Wong, senior year, we are really focusing on our senior year in the fall. We're in the fall semester in general, we're really focused on our seniors. So we have a one mandatory X period where we are finalizing the college list. We're talking to students who are applying early decision, early action, regular decision as well. We have college application workshops, and they're actually optional. So we're all normally in a space or in a room, and students can come to us, seniors can come to us throughout that entire period and just ask questions, whether it's, I don't understand how to include the activities on the Common App, or can you clarify this, or is this a part of the A through G, or can you look over my writing supplements? What does this look like? Can you edit it? So a lot of our students do take advantage of that. Meet individually throughout the semester as needed, assist with personal statements, assist with financial aid applications. We're really here to assist through the entire process, the fall semester, because it is a stressful time, and we want to hopefully alleviate that stress and be as much of a support as possible. And then, sorry, this is my last slide. Spring semester, we send mid-year grades, which are the fall semester senior grades. So we are required to submit those to many colleges and universities, and that will be in January. And then talking about different opportunities, once they have their decisions, we are, discussing and creating pros and cons on what's the best fit, or financial aid. What does that look like? Who's giving you the most money, and how can you make sure that you're not going to be in a lot of debt once you graduate, or if you receive scholarships and whatnot. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Wong, and she's going to do some introductions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Withers. Thank you once again, parents, for joining us. We are so excited to start this journey with you. I have the honor to introduce our two distinguished guest speakers in the college counseling field, and I'll just go in alphabetical order by last name. So first we have Kuka Acosta. She is the Associate Director of Admissions at the University of California, Santa Barbara, which is also her alma mater. She was born and raised in Southern California and received her BA from UCSB in philosophy. I see Phil is a SoCal guy too. Philosophy, and an MA in leadership and liberal studies from Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. For 19 years, she has worked at UCSB, including 16 years in the Office of Admissions. So she is well-versed in this field. Her role includes coordinating outreach and yield activities, which have generated over 120,000 applications for fall of 2021. That's amazing. That's a lot of applications. For the last 8 years, she has traveled the world meeting and working with counselors, students, and parents who want to study in the US. She's has presented at national and international conferences on both the UC system and UCSB, undocumented student issues, and working with first-gen college students. In her free time, she loves to travel and considers her passport her best accessory in her closet. As the first and only person in her family to have a college degree, her goals are to create guidance and encouragement for students. So thank you for being with us tonight, Kuka.
The whole thing. Thank you.
I loved it. I loved every sentence. And then next we have Phil Moreno. He is from Dickinson College in Pennsylvania. As Ms. Withers said, he is the director of West Coast recruitment, and he is the co-coordinator of transfer admissions. He is a first generation college student from SoCal also. He's worked in college admissions since 2003, so almost 20 years, and is the director of West Coast recruitment at Dickinson. He also currently serves as the immediate past president of the Western Association for College Admissions Counseling, or WACAC, for the acronym, and is an active member of another acronym, RAC, which stands for Regional Admissions Counselors of California. He is also recently, I just learned he was a guest speaker on Good Day Courtney, a talk show, as he is an expert in sharing about testing. And he is a graduate of USC, University of Southern California, and the University of Redlands. He believes that information in the college information process is power, and he is passionate about dispelling rumors and myths in the college admission process. Once again, Phil and Kuka, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to be with us and imparting your wisdom to our sophomore families who are embarking on this journey. We've asked Phil and Kuka to share on various parts that kind of make up a student's application, and just like admission trends and observations from their institution. So a few areas that they're going to share about are academics. So how should sophomore families think about their academic experience, such as course selection, grades, enrichment? They're also going to touch upon activities, right? How are you guiding, how can you guide, or what advice would you give to sophomore families where maybe freshman year, where we were virtual, they didn't have as many activities to be involved in, right? So how can, what does that look like on a college application? And then test optional, test free, as the UC system is now, right? Just how are you evaluating applications being test optional and test free?
Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. As stated, I'm Kuka Acosta with the Office of Admissions at UC Santa Barbara. I'm happy to have you send any direct communication or any specific questions that you might have about UCSB to my direct email address. You'll see it on the screen. I will point out that the University of California has the 10 campuses, and I'm speaking on the system at this point in time and not Santa Barbara specifically. So what do you need to know? The academic requirements haven't changed. Newsflash, they haven't changed. So if you're a student in your first year, or if you're a student in your second year, sophomore year, you're looking at sort of chipping away at these academic curriculums. So you're looking at saying, okay, what am I really good at? I love math. I don't want to just do 3 years of math. I want to do 4 years of math. Great, you're already on your 4th year of math because you were taking geometry in junior high. So what can you do? Now it's about the rigor of that particular curriculum. So as you're planning your junior and your senior year, are there subjects where you're really embracing the subject matter and you want to then challenge yourself? This is the time to think about that by either taking that advanced course. And an advanced course will mean different things to different students. It might be taking a class at an honors level, or it might be asking, hey, is it time for me to look at a dual enrollment course? So think about what that means to the student. I know parents will probably go, my kid should be taking every AP class. Well, let's slow it down, parents. What is the right fit for your student? Having them take every AP class is not necessarily going to be the right fit if they end up getting C's in all the courses. So a student should be looking at the strength of their curriculum. Where do I find passion and joy? Where do I want to challenge myself? And then choosing those classes. Again, either rigor being an extra year in the subject matter, or an honors level type course, being honors, AP, or a dual enrollment class. I will point out that during the fun and excitement that was the pandemic, said no one ever, but we'll try it right now, the University of California was accepting pass, no pass, credit, no credit during winter 2020 all the way through summer 2021. And that means that some curriculum might have a pass or a credit, and that's perfectly okay, specifically because the UC GPA is being calculated from sophomore and junior year. Sophomore and junior year? Okay, what? Yes. So GPA is starting in the sophomore year, and students can really start fresh and say, here's where I'm ready to be successful. As stated, the University of California is test free. I love saying that and doing it that way. Free. We will not, and we cannot look at SAT or ACT exams. One more time, cannot look at SAT or ACT exams. While yes, a student has the option to add that into the UC application, it is redacted. It is blacked out to the admissions reader, so they cannot see it. Well, then why do you want it? Thank you for asking. And here's why. There are some exams like SAT, ACT, AP, IB that can be used to validate some of these A through G subjects. That's why it's there. And for our students where English wasn't their first language, they're international students who maybe haven't been in an educational system in English for more than 3 years, these can also be English language placement exams. That's why it's in the application, because in the background of the application, that validation is happening. But the reader, we won't see it. We won't use it. We cannot use it as part of our admissions. So what is in the admissions process, you ask? There are 13 factors in admission. So the fact that we took away SAT or ACT, it went from 14 to 13. There's still plenty that we're looking at. We're looking at the curriculum a student chooses to take based off of the context of what was offered at their high school. Not what was offered across town, not what was offered in another state or another country, but what was offered at your high school. And you have a pretty robust academic course list at your school. It's a great school, we know it. We're also looking at the ability for students to show special talents, achievements, awards. And where in the past that was literally school clubs and organizations and community service, and you got started your freshman year and life was great and you had a list. What? You didn't do anything last year because your parents kept you locked in a bubble? Good. You were safe, you were sound, I'm happy. But now the question comes down to, what are you going to do? And were you really not leaving your house at all during the pandemic? Okay, well, how did you spend your time? What were your talents and hobbies and experiences? During the pandemic, those limitations created opportunities for so many students. And all of those can be used in the application process. And I'm sure that Phil's gonna echo a lot of this, so I'm sorry, Phil, for stealing your thunder, my friend. But we look at what a student chose to do based off of what was available to them. Again, the word context. Write it down, put it on your computer screen. Just remember, context is key. So babysitting your siblings while your parents were working from home in the living room and trying to keep them quiet, yeah, that counts. Maybe you started your own blog or your own journal as you were talking about what it meant to be a teenager going through the pandemic. Maybe now you have 30,000 followers. That can count. Maybe you started your own business. Maybe you learned how to perfect the sourdough recipe by making 50,000 loaves. Tell me what you did, how you did it, and what you gained from the experience. That's part of our UC application. And that is really what the admissions office wants to know. When the chips were down, how did you power through? And it's going to look different for every single student. And that's the key part. Don't compare your student, or students, don't compare yourself to anyone else, because in the admissions office, we don't do that either. The last thing I'll point out is in the admissions process, the self-reported application, we'll be asking for academics and we'll calculate GPAs and we'll do all of that. But a really big component is life experience based off of the context of the opportunity. And if the household didn't allow you to do a lot of things structurally through formal organizations, then again, how did you spend your time? Maybe you're an artist and now your bedroom is covered in a mural that it took 3 months to do. Tell me more. Tell me and explain to me what that process was like, how you created that mural, how you went about drafting and drawing it, and now what it means to you. We want to get to know the student. And it's not just a GPA and it's not just this small window of classes, but everything about the student inside and outside of the classroom. So with that in mind, I will pause and I will turn it over to Phil so that he can give you his point of view as what it means to be academically sound and all of those fun things about testing that he does.
So really excited to be here tonight, particularly because I don't think I usually get to talk to sophomore parents or families this early in the process. And as is mentioned, I think so much of what happens at a place like St. Ignatius is you all talk with each other and then you think that those become the way things are supposed to be. And truly, the most common answer to any college admissions question is it depends. And that's because of what you just heard from Kuka. It's contextual, right? It's going to be, the answer is going to be contextual to your student, to the colleges or universities that you're looking at, the year, many different factors that really influence the answers to any college admissions question. So what I'm very happy to be able to represent today are those colleges that are similar to Dickinson. And, you know, for someone who grew up in California myself, I know that we don't particularly look at smaller liberal arts colleges like Dickinson College, but they're there. St. Mary's College of Moraga, Mills College, which is doing a transformation. Down south, places like Occidental College, the Claremont colleges. And what you know about those institutions, first and foremost, right, is that they are designed to be smaller intentional communities. So as you think about the progress you've made at St. Ignatius, and as you progress through your sophomore into your junior year, you as a student, and parents certainly helping your students, what is the best type of environment for you to learn, right? I remember very early on in my college experience being in a 240-person astronomy course. But that was okay, because I was going to major in journalism, right? At a place like Dickinson, where class size ratios are 8-to-1, 14, even your general education courses are going to be smaller and intimate. They're about engagement. Dickinson from the very beginning is about engagement. So our liberal arts institution is very much focused in on the idea of engagement inside it and outside of the classroom. It's focused in on the idea of a global education. In fact, Dickinson ends up being the first modern foreign language in the program in the United States. We now offer 13 languages, and our students study abroad about 70%. And then lastly, we're an institution that thinks of sustainability as a philosophy for solving problems. And that's also unique to smaller institutions like Dickinson, Haverford, Grinnell, Kenyon, right? Each of these institutions has the luxury of deciding what they're going to invest in, right? And so as you think about the best opportunity for you to go on, you know, thinking about smaller liberal arts colleges would be a great opportunity for you to round out your list, particularly as you think about to place and setting. Know that very few small liberal arts colleges exist here on the West Coast. I can think of Whitman and the names that I previously mentioned. That's in Walla Walla, Washington. The city's so nice they named it twice. But we are designed intentionally to be in smaller communities. In fact, I remember reading in the New York Times about a decade ago that actually our military academies consider themselves liberal arts institutions because they're specifically set up to tackle problems intentionally in their communities, right? That's what a liberal arts college is designed to do. Hence why Dickinson, at the time it's founded in 1783, is 2 days horse ride from Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. Now, and with our California driving, you can actually do that in a little less than an hour and a half. Just watch out for the state police. Although their tickets are a lot less out there. I don't know. Our tickets are exorbitant out here. So as you think about academics, right? As you think about the types of settings that you've done well in terms of the subjects that you enjoy the most, I want to talk a little bit, and that's certainly snow, because one of the options that you think about leaving California, right, is weather. But considering both in-state and out-of-state options, right? We have tremendous in-state options, right? The consequence of that is that there's some of the most selective colleges in the country, right? So as your counselors will start to mention schools to you, take them up on the offer to apply to a school that you may not know, right? As was mentioned in the introduction by Stephanie, there is an entire group, regionaladmissions.com, that is all about recruiting students from California. In fact, these colleges and universities employ someone here in the state of California to recruit you. And so as you think about those opportunities, those places may offer scholarships. They may offer the Western Undergraduate Exchange, which is an opportunity to play similar in-state rates at colleges in Oregon and a bunch of Western surrounding opportunities. So if cost is a factor for you in thinking about in-state options, know that those options exist, and regionaladmissions.com is a great way to find out those resources. The other thing I think it's important to say at this point is the approach to education. Because at a professional institution like our UCs, where they want to know your major pretty early on, a liberal arts education is designed for flexibility. It's literally designed that your courses throughout your 4 years will help you decide on a major. In fact, when I was at a USC, I took 7 courses out of my major. Everything else came from the journalism and political science department. Students at liberal arts colleges take up to 14 courses outside their major, and they still graduate on time. In addition, our academic majors are designed to be interdisciplinary. So you don't have to do the hard work to try to find variation in a business major. It's automatically going to pull from lots of different places. So my advice on your sophomore and junior year is do as much as you can to try and find your authentic interests. But know that we on the academic side are going to know sometimes high school is about checking boxes, right? Sometimes it is outside of your control. So when we see you taking that extra rigor, when we see you taking a paradigm like the A through G requirement, but adding in that AP course or honors course in those subjects that you really are strong at, we're going to take notice. Because like Kuka said, for us, it is about context. We also look at extracurricular activities, and you're probably asking why. Well, at a liberal arts college, it's very intentional, right? We are often asking ourselves, can you do the work? But what kind of roommate will you be, right? Our communities are very small. So extracurricular activities give us an opportunity to see how you would be engaged on our campus. What are the right activities? Well, what's the answer? Hopefully you're saying out there, it depends, right? Because if you're a dancer, right? I don't want to see lacrosse. I don't have to see lacrosse, right? Am I going to see a lot of dance? Absolutely, right? If you love international adventures like Kuka, maybe you're in an international club, right? Maybe you're in a cultural club, right? The right activities complement your overall application. Those are the right activities for you. And then also know that contextually, we've been seeing it for the past 2 years. By the time you apply, we will have seen most of your academic experience and extracurriculars impacted by COVID, and we take that into light. We give you grace if you're not able to do 4 years of a sustained commitment. The last thing I'll say about activities is we look for sustained commitment, but also opportunities for when you take leadership opportunities in those things. Those are great ways to bolster your application, because not only are you doing maybe 3 years of language, but then the fact that you're also president of, let's say, the Latino American Club, great. Those are things that we could look for. The last thing I'll say is about test optional from our perspective. In fact, the test optional movement starts at small liberal arts colleges, Bates and Bowdoin, maybe over 40 years ago. Dickinson is test optional in 1994. We were an institution that also decided to be test free until 2023. And the very reason institutions can do test optional is context. That's it. If we didn't have the opportunity to know the rigor at SI, test scores matter. But as Kuka has told you, As I have told you here today, colleges are all about context, right? We want to know, and we do know, the rigor that is offered there, what you've taken, and take that into consideration, which is why now 1,800 colleges in the US are test optional this year. Another 1,400 have already decided they will be test optional next year. You have 80 institutions, including big systems like the UC, who are test free. If you want to keep track of that, keep the fairtest.org website out there for you. And then the last question is, should I test? This is what I said on Good Day Sacramento last week. Really what is happening with testing is you're going to be able to use it as a consumer. So what does that mean? Think of the SAT and ACT as a product. You buy it, you don't report it to anybody, you take the test, and then you decide for those institutions that take it if you want to report it. And if you don't want to, that's what the test optional is all about. You get to decide if those scores are helpful for us in helping determine if you can be admitted to their institutions or institutions that are test optional. So that's my little bit. I'm going to throw it back over up to San Francisco with Stephanie and Ashley.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. You both are incredible. I just want to say thank you for this information. I love everyone's energy on here. So SI families, I hope you are enjoying this parent night. And now it's really the time for you to ask any questions in the Q&A. And while we're waiting, I've seen a few of these questions that we've answered. So we don't necessarily have an internship portal. And I believe a parent also mentioned like volunteer opportunities. In our community service department office, they send out newsletters with tons of different volunteer opportunities. I want to say at least monthly. So it's really great for that. Internships in general, we don't have a portal, but if a junior or a sophomore, even a freshman comes to us and lets us know like, hey, I'm interested in this opportunity, is there any way that you can help me find something? Then we are more than helpful. We are more than welcome and happy to assist them through that. Okay, when will our child be assigned a college counselor? By their sophomore year, or by, I believe officially by junior year, by sophomore year, correct, Stephanie? Correct, by sophomore year, they are assigned.
Yes, the spring of their sophomore year. So all of your children should have a college counselor now.
How does the process work for athletes who want to play in college? So we have another sports and athletic college counselor, Mr. Bluford, who they can connect to as well, but they can also communicate with us and we can talk about the NCAA eligibility. But I think the most important thing is just for them to come reach out to us and have a conversation on what that looks like. And from there, they will have a conversation with Mr. Bluford as well. Next question is, how many SI students participate in early acceptance or early decision? I don't necessarily have the exact number, but I would say a good percentage of our students do apply early action. Our students do apply early decision to some schools, but it's not as much as early action. A lot of students who do apply early decision, they are getting recruited for some type of sport, or it's their dream school and they just want to go there. But again, not every single school offers early decision. Not every school offers early action. The UCs and the CSUs have that one hard deadline of November 30th. So they do not offer the early decision or early action. So it really depends also on like, if some students are like, I want to see if I can get into a UC, so I'm not going to apply early decision to some schools.
Can I share out?
Yes.
The University of California has extended its filing period. So you'll actually see that our application will now be accessible August 1st, but submittable on October 1st through November 30th of your student's senior year. So just as a point of new deadlines, new deals, and if you apply on October 1st to any one of us, you won't hear back any sooner. It's all going to happen in the same time period.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So this could be for Kuka or Phil. Should our students take the SAT? What's the downside of not taking it?
you know my answer. I will never see it, so it's irrelevant to me. But what's on your student's college list? If they're applying to a school that uses the SAT for scholarship, then do you want money? Do you want to be in the pool for money? If your student has said, I'm ready for it, I want to take it and I want to see what happens, and then once I take it, decide if I want to share it to a test optional school, that's another conversation. But for the University of California, I will say, I will never see it. So to me, it's a moot point. Phil might have a different answer to that, though.
I mean, I think it goes back to once you've devised that list, right? Considering who will take it, but also know you're going to be impacted by the new SAT, right? There's a new digital version that is being rolled out. So we'll start next year with the international students, and in 2024, there will be a new 2-hour version of a digital test. And so, I think as, the answer really will depend, and we're going to be able to see by the time that you're seniors, will the test optional movement stay, right? That's really the big question for the 1,800 institutions that are currently test optional, the 1,400 that will be test optional next year because of COVID. Will these institutions remain test optional? So I think the answer is to be determined.
Thank you. I think the next question is does Phil or the SI team have a perspective of going back east to look at schools? What is the balance of planning visits versus kids taking the lead?
Yeah. So one of the nice things about my role here being in California is I often time my trip back to campus was when you're on spring break. So prior to COVID, I was on campus while many students were doing tours of the East Coast. So if it makes sense for your family and you're going to go back east and you're going to do tours, then, include colleges from a wide range of sizes if that's appropriate for you. Know that many institutions in certain areas of the country have been open, right? They've been able to welcome you. Like I mentioned in one of the answers, we have been open since July of 2020 for visits. And so we have those seen families kind of pull back on visits because I think what they were finding in some of the surrounding states, whereas a hodgepodge of policies that meant it wasn't as cohesive. So I would wait until maybe, a month or so before your upcoming spring break, look at some of the colleges that you want to visit and see if they're open and see if a trip makes sense. But again, knowing that an institution like mine is going to give you grace if you don't get a chance to visit until after you're admitted.
If my child hasn't really joined many leadership roles, but plans to around the end of sophomore year, would colleges take that into consideration, or would they rather see longer commitment?
I think the conversation of leadership is one that it's going to come down to context. Is it that you're asking, does my kid need to have a title, right? Team captain or editor of the paper or something to that nature. And that's perfectly acceptable. But then there are students who step up and take leadership roles, right? Babysitting my siblings while my parents are working, that's a leadership role, right? I'm a teenager responsible for a 2-year-old. That is leadership. So I think the definition of leadership might be something that a student needs to rethink in their mind, because in the admissions office, we don't have one set box, which everyone has to check, that says this is the only way that a student can show leadership. And so if a student finds a passion or an interest, they should definitely follow it with the knowledge that we'll look at the 4 years of high school and see how those peaks and valleys have come based off of opportunities accessible and available to them.
What if my child gets A's and B's when he turns in his work, but has been a late bloomer getting adjusted and has his mind wrapped around what is expected now to earn what he wants then in the college process? For your student to try his best, put 100% in these classes and try to, do his best in the class, and reach out to his college counselor, and maybe the parents can have a meeting with one of us. Any of us would love to have that conversation.
Let me also attempt to put something out there. There are students who are passionate about their subjects from birth, right? I'm a dancer. I've been dancing since I was 2. It's my thing. All of my dance classes are there. And you sort of see that passion or that ability. And then there are students who take a little bit more time. It might be junior year until they're like, oh, I love math. Finally, I love math now that I'm not taking this or that part of math. A student is able to pinpoint maybe a point in time where like the switch flipped in additional comments or in an essay or in the UC personal insight questions, because the curriculum as a whole for the 4 years of high school is being looked at. And so please don't take it that your student has to be perfect every single day of their lives, because we don't expect that in the college admissions process.
Thank you. Guka, I think this one is for you also. What was the average GPA for UCSB freshman year this year for entrance?
Oh, darn it. I forgot to memorize that. Hold on. I think it's 4.12, if I'm not mistaken. Weighted 4.12.
Thank you. Can the college admissions reps talk a little bit about how they work with sports recruiting?
So I work at a Division III institution. So actually the largest of NCAA. The big caveat about Division III is we're prohibited from offering athletic scholarships. So I would always like to say, our athletes are in their places on the field, the court, the pool, just like they do in the classroom. Division III athletics in the admissions process is, in my mind, like a hook. What it means is that there's another incentive for me to think about the student and how they would engage on our campus. Because we don't offer athletic scholarships, it doesn't mean because Kuka is an excellent swimmer that she's going to get admitted, right? It means that, oh, I know if Kuka came to campus and she swam all the way from down there to be in front of the TV right now, right? That she's going to do that on our community. So for us, I think it's a great way to demonstrate how a student is going to be engaged in our community. And then we do typically track if a coach has talked to that student, because sometimes if you indicate on your extracurricular that you are very much planning to continue that sport at our institution, but you haven't talked to the coach, then we're wondering where the disconnect is.
I'm at a Division I school. So NCAA Division I means that, yes, my coaches hold their own scholarship funds. So I, in the admissions office, can't say that Phil is an amazing gymnast and give him money. That's not my wheelhouse. But the coach can say, I want him. I need him on the balance beam. Like, let's do this. And they can decide how much money that student should be getting because they fill a niche within the team. So two things for us. The admissions office and the athletic offices cannot communicate directly with each other. There's a liaison. So if you tell me in the admissions office, I'm ready to play baseball for UCSB, I know you're amazing at it, I'm gonna go, yes, I have a Division I team. Yes, I know that our schedule is in the spring. And that is the extent of my ability to talk to you in the admissions office about baseball. Go to the coach. And our coaches have interest forms and rosters. Here's the reality though. Coaches know, they know where to look. They know, your high school coach will usually talk to our college coaches, and that conversation of recruitment starts. But the big factor for us for Division I schools is that students still need to meet a set of admissions criteria. I still need students to take those academic courses because you're a student athlete. Emphasis, underline, highlight, bold, student, the first word. Because if you're coming onto a college campus, you will be going to classes, not just to practice. So there we go. Soapbox, done.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, just a few more questions. How can we determine if a college is a good fit for our student?
Yeah, it's funny because the number one reason that a student says they choose a college is actually because of Kuka. It's amazing. No, it's because they say it just felt right. And my answer to why that is because you do the work like you're doing now. You start off in this process very intentionally, looking at all the different options that are out there, doing that self-assessment to understand where is it that I can be the most successful in the right academic environment, setting, location, size, all of that, right? And then once you've made that determination, you get to choose the colleges you're applied to. And by doing that process, understanding what each college wants, by putting your best face forward, when you get that acceptance letter, you step foot on the campus, you just end up feeling it. That's how it comes about mostly. Would you agree, Kuka?
I love to tell this story. So one of my favorite tour guides said, oh, I chose UCSB because the brochure was beautiful. And I said, well, I'm really glad that my brochure and my campus looked the same, but you'd never visited? She was like, no, I didn't have to. I was like, okay, but my best friend and I are here. And I was like, wow, you chose a school based off of your best friend. So let's start with the basics. It shouldn't be about your cousin, your neighbor, your best friend. It should be about you. And you might have some things you're looking for. I was looking for a college campus where I could see other people that looked like me to make me feel confident and comfortable. You might be looking for a campus that has a very specific major. I want actuarial science. Well, you've just limited now to like 10 schools in California, right? Or across the Midwest. So if it's major, if it's size, if it's location, those are things to sort of put out there as creating your list. But once you walk onto a campus, if you're like, oh, there are bikes here, there are bike paths I have to cross. I hate bicycles. I have a fear of bicycles. Santa Barbara now gets off your list because we're a biking campus. So it's not just about the pretty pictures. It's not just about the fact that your friend likes it. It needs to be all these other factors combined as well. And that's where videos, we have mastered the virtual tour now that the pandemic is launched us into that. So every college has those now. There are also great, student driven videos of a day in a life on our YouTube channels and our Instagrams. Those student perspectives might be the best way for you to get the vibe if you can't physically come onto a campus tour or go through a virtual tour either.
Is the UC system considering developing their own in-house replacement to the SAT? If so, when is the target year rollout?
No, so let's go through in our history lesson, my friends. In 2017, the faculty of the University of California were looking at the SAT, ACT to see if it was meeting benchmarks for admission. Luckily, in March of 2022, when the report came out, the pandemic hit as well. So everyone kind of went test optional. We have now since done our due diligence since 2020, and our faculty are not creating a new test. We're not creating any test. So test free means I, in the admissions office, am free of having any required exam for admissions purposes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. How important are AP courses to college admissions? If it's not counted during their senior year, then should all AP courses be done by junior year? I would love for you guys to say something as well, but although universities are reviewing, their grades for freshman, sophomore, and junior, and their senior grades aren't necessarily out yet, it's still important that they are able to take AP courses senior year, number one, definitely. And it is going to play a factor if they are taking AP and honor courses their senior year. And Luca and Phil, you can chime in, but universities and colleges don't necessarily want to see that you're taking rigor freshman, sophomore, and junior year and then not taking anything senior year and you're kind of coasting. So I think it's definitely important. There's opportunities to take AP courses at SI senior year and junior year.
I'll point out that if I were to share my screen again, there are 13 factors for admission, one of which is the strength of a student's senior year. So if as stated, all of a sudden senior year you're taking underwater basket weaving and PE, that rigor is not there. So that could be a factor to us. I will also point out that if a student wants to really learn, then taking a whole year off from a rigorous curriculum and then jumping into a university setting might not be the best path. You want to find yourself with a bridge, right? Moving forward. Does that mean all APs? No, that's not what I said, remember? But is it challenging yourself in areas of your strength? And continuing to ask, what do you love? What does your student love? And maybe making that the curriculum. Now, are you bored with your high school coursework? How? SI has some great courses, but let's pretend that that's the case. That's where dual enrollment can come in. Or if you have something else, an internship, something else that complements it, then make sure that you're talking about that within the application process. So the admissions reader doesn't go, why you get lazy on me, my friend? No. plenty of people are applying to college, and I need to know the context behind your choices or your students' choices through the end of high school and that graduation date, please and thank you.
Phil, do you have anything to chime in on that, or you're good?
I mean, I think you hit it nail on the head again. There's no right answer to these questions, right? It's contextual. Like, right, we're in knee deep right now in committee, and we're looking at rigor. And like Kuka said, the lack of it in senior year, it raises a question. So then I look to the application and I look for context, right? Oh, look, they tried it honors and AP in junior year. They're not going to take it in senior year. That makes sense, right? But if I see maybe no honors or AP course whatsoever, then I'm wondering why, right? And I'm looking for other answers in the application. And if the student can't answer in a very, intentional way, that makes me doubt their capability of doing the work, that's when it matters. But again, it depends because each of the students are different, each school is different. So.
All right, I think we have about 2 more questions. What are your thoughts on taking a path of going to community college before applying to a 4-year? What are the advantages or disadvantages? I'll say something real quick. Honestly, it really depends on the student. I know this is we had an X period with on Tuesday with our juniors, and we had our representative, and he had a piece of paper that said it depends for most of the questions. The answers were it depends, and it's really true. It really depends on what's a good fit. It really depends on what's a good fit for the student. I mean, advantages are it could be affordable, a little bit more affordable. Disadvantage is that it may be a little challenging to get all those classes in order to transfer. But if they have a goal in mind, community college can be a great path, and there's opportunities. So I really think that's a conversation that they can have with their college counselor. I know I'm referring it back to the college counselor, but I always encourage students like, hey, let's apply to some colleges. And then if you're not happy, there's always that community college route, let's see the opportunities and financial aid or affordability. And if you're really not in love with the school, maybe you can take some time and take a community college, go the community college course route, and then from there transfer to a UC or to a private school or whatnot.
I'll toss in, and sorry, I was answering a UC question in chat while you were talking, and I shouldn't have done that. Okay, the transfer option. There are 115 California community colleges, and it might be that you want to move away from home, so you're going to go live with Uncle Phil and go to community college down in Southern California, and you're getting that experience of moving away and having that aspect. But maybe you didn't get into your first choice for your university, or maybe you've decided that you don't know your major yet, and you sort of want to test the waters, and you want to do that at a community college first. There are so many different reasons behind it. We have some amazing community colleges in the state of California for students who want to go the transfer route. And your 4-year university degree, well, when you transfer to us, it doesn't say Kuka transferred from Santa Barbara City College and it took her 3 years. No, it says university degree on it. So if you came in the freshman route or the transfer route, it's still the exact same diploma from that university. So take heart with that. Here's what we also want to share. The 6 of the 9 UC campuses have transfer admissions guarantees. Did I say the word guarantee? Yes, I did, my friend. Let me say it again. Guarantee. So there's no guarantee at the freshman route, but there is at the transfer route. And of course, there's some limitations when it comes to majors. It's not a carte blanche thing, and there's going to be a list of what you have to do. But X, Y, and Z is done, check the box. I can guarantee you admissions at UCSB in almost 80 different majors, art, biology, history, so much more. So there is a great reason why some students will start at a community college, and the end result is a degree. Who cares if that's how you started? It's a great option. I hope that you'll consider it if it's the right option for you.
Thank you. I have a few questions regarding a gap year. If a student takes a gap year, would senior grades count more in that case? And do you look at a really interesting gap year as a positive?
Funny, because Kuka, you remember way back when we started, gap years were very uncommon. And there was this hesitation of like, wait, why are you taking a year off? And we live way too long. You've been in a pressure cooker environment. Your student has been for a while. I think a very intentional gap year with some very clear goals makes sense. Now, of course, the answer depends, because my advice has always been, traditionally, if you're a strong applicant as a senior, to then apply as if though you're going to enroll in that institution right after high school, and then defer your admission if you garner admission. So in that case, right, it is your junior year and perhaps the first semester of your senior year that is weighted. But I have seen, because of different circumstances, a student graduate and then take a gap year and do some additional coursework to try and bolster some academic record, right? So in that case, we would see the complete senior year. And if you're trying to, articulate or show upward trend, right, then that's when maybe senior grades will apply a little bit more directly. But I think for the right reasons, as we just discussed, and an intentional approach to a gap year, I say go for it. But I do recommend that you apply as if though you're going to go right out of high school.
Definitions for the University of California and some of the publics, and that is, for us, a gap year means you've graduated from high school and you're taking time off during the academic year. And that means you're not going to college, you're not taking curriculum either through an accredited college or university during the academic year, fall, winter, and spring quarters. Now, if I graduate, I spend the summer and I take a college class, and then I'm like, all right, I'm going to go and travel the world. That's fine, because it wasn't the academic year. When it comes to the admissions review process, you're going to apply to the UC system the year prior to enrollment, just like everybody else. You're going to fill out your application and you will have senior year grades. So yes, they will be visible to the admissions officer on a UC campus. And yes, they can be looked at in the holistic review. But no, senior year grades don't get added to your GPA, because the University of California only uses sophomore and junior year for that GPA calculation, so that there is equity across all applicants, those who are on gap year and those who are off gap year. So there are rules and we love them. I agree with Phil. What used to be the rarest thing, and now it's a conversation at almost every fair. I'm taking a gap year, I'm traveling. Specifically right now with students who in the pandemic weren't really able to explore, they're thinking, I want to take time off. And I'm like, more power to you. Write home to your parents if you travel. Make sure that you take some pictures, and then journal your experiences, because I will be asking you, how did you spend your time in your gap year, or years, plural? And did you take college classes during the academic year? Because I'm nosy, I asked that.
Love. This is really, really informative. So thank you. Just final comments, Luca or Phil, do you have any final comments for our sophomore families?
Well, first off, I think you should realize how incredibly lucky you are to have folks like Ashley and Stephanie on your side. It's not an accident that you've been having college representatives during our busiest reading season coming to these events, right? It's because SI is a well-known place. It's a place that you have strong advocacy for. And my advice would be, take advantage of those opportunities intentionally, right? Don't be the student that misses a meeting. Don't be that student that's like me, a procrastinator, and does their slides just before this meeting rather than like Kuka yesterday, right? Truly, like I said, in terms of determining fit, you need to do the work in order to make this process work for you. And then you as a parent need to allow your student to do that work, right? Your student needs to do that work, right? And sometimes that's hard, right? Because maybe they don't do it, but you have to let them, if they don't succeed, fail, right? And learn those lessons. And I can say that if you do that, your students are gonna end up in a phenomenal place, because you have the resources to help you get there.
All right, piece of advice or two. One, the admissions process is going to be changing from this month to next year and on. So get your information from the source. Your college counselors are touching base with colleges and universities. You can too. You can call or email us. I'd prefer you to get your information and the changes that are happening from the admissions office versus your neighbor's best friend who got into UCLA last year, so she knows everything. No, honey, it's going to change next year. Trust me, right? The whole testing thing changed on a monthly basis for the class of 2021. Here's the other thing to make note of. We ask you to fill out our inquiry cards, and you can do so as early as freshman year in high school. We ask you to do this not because we need to spam you with information, but when information is relevant and we want to share it with you, that's the way we do it. And so you can do it as early as tonight. You can do it next year when you have a better list. There's no harm in doing that. And if you get done with us, you're like, Santa Barbara, no thank you. Unsubscribe and move on. But at least you now have the facts from the university. And last but not least, don't do it alone. Do not think, oh, well, let me just Google that. And I think I understood what that meant. Ask us. We get paid lots of money, right, Phil? Millions to do this work because, well, actually you don't, but we do it because we love it. We want to work with your families. We want to work with your students. We don't mind answering the same question over and over and over again. We are here to help you. So let us do that. Let your counselors help you. And then listen to their sound advice. They don't talk just to hear themselves talk, or maybe you do, because I do. I don't know, maybe. In any case, listen to them and note that, hey, you can always confirm with us in the admissions offices, Miss Wong said this, is that true? I'm gonna go, yes, why are you not listening to her? I might say it nicer if you call or email me, but I'm gonna say yes. So please don't hesitate and don't do it alone.
Wow, thank you everyone. Stephanie, do you have any words before we end this?
Yes, I was just thanking everybody on the chat who was like, thank you. I love this one parent who said, I'm leaving with a feeling of peace or like calm. So thank you so much to Kuka and Phil, who have just kind of gave us like an overarching like way you review, you see students, it's by context. So thank you so much. And sophomore parents, you can reach out to your child's college counselor by email. So we are here for you. We are here to answer your questions. We want your child to have a successful college application process. We want them to feel good and to reach their goals, essentially. So we are here for you, and thank you for attending. Thank you for your time. Thank you again, Kuka and Phil.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Kuka and Phil. You guys were so awesome.
Amazing.
So informative. Energy is amazing. I'm so happy I was a part of this parent night. Again, thank you so much, SI families. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you.